Hi, welcome to Light Bulbs with Natasha. I'm Natasha. Today we're going to be talking to a local business owner. Here in this episode, you're going to learn so much from somebody who's just has the hustle, who started something during the pandemic, and who is definitely going to teach us how to make it happen, how to make a dream happen. And I'd love to welcome Pablo. Pablo from Aguas Locas. Welcome, Pablo.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for making the time. I know you have a big event coming up, so.
I do, and also I just want to thank you for the amazing introduction, but also.
Yeah, no problem. That's what we do here. So, I have so many questions for you because the minute that you told me you were from Catalina Island, I was like, wait, what? I've never met someone who was born and raised in Catalina Island. What was that like?
Yeah, so I don't blame you for not knowing anybody. We're very few and far between, considering my class was the largest at the time. It was only 69 students. Mm-hmm. And I tell people that during the summer, it was like a mini Cancun, wild, crazy parties, tourism, staying up till all hours of the night. And then in the winter, everything shuts down around 6 p.m. There's nobody on the streets. And it can get very lonely. And it's very much a ghost town, but I very much enjoyed the difference of what the island was when there was people there and when there was not people there. But just growing up there in general was, I still feel like I'm on an island. But I wouldn't have traded it for the world.
How often did you visit? Like, did your family take the ferry down to LA often? Where was how long was the commute? Yeah,
so just to give you like a little visual of what it was like growing up over there, every time we needed to buy school clothes or make a major shopping trip or, you needed an appliance, you went over town. You got on the ferry and it took you an hour to come into Long Beach, and then you would go, I remember coming into the Ross down in Long Beach to have to go school shopping or to go to the malls that were, close by. And so we got off, but it was very intentional because, you did have to spend a bunch of money on the boat,
right? Rent
a car, rent a hotel, so on and so forth. So it was fun. I still have a lot of memories, but it was definitely something that I still remember to this day.
Yeah. That's so interesting how to get clothes, things like that, you had to, get off the island and go and go somewhere. Wow. And then Long Beach too. I'm from Long Beach actually.
Oh, nice.
So I live in Long Beach and I love that city a lot.
But me too.
It's pretty, it's fascinating to me for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when did you move to LA?
So when I graduated high school, I left the island every winter and then I would go, either to Ventura, Huntington Beach, Long Beach. Up until the age of like 23, I finally moved to Long Beach, met my now wife, and we've been together ever since, and that's, I want to say, 13 years. Wow. Forgive me if I'm wrong. But, I moved to Long Beach, and then we moved to San Francisco, started managing some restaurants up there.
Okay.
Had a baby girl, and decided it took a village, and so we moved back home to LA, and we've been here since 2018, and the pandemic hit. Got furloughed from my job, and the rest is Aguas Locas history.
Wow. Yeah, and I was going to actually segue into that. So you were in restaurants when the pandemic hit?
Yeah.
Oh, and restaurants were the first thing to completely go. I mean, other than takeout, but what was your position at the restaurant? So
I was the AGM over at the Rose in Venice.
Okay, yeah.
And so I was working 12-hour days, trying to, when I went back to the restaurant, I was working the 12 hours days. And then I was making the hours when I got off work from around midnight till 5 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And I did that for about 6 months. And it was a grind. I can't say that I would ever do that again. But, I was very motivated. I didn't have a job. I, had this idea and all the time in the world when the pandemic hit. So I was skating around with Zoe, and we needed something refreshing, so I thought of Aguas Frescas, something that was near and dear to me and my culture and my family. And so now I'm on a mission to make Aguas Locas the biggest Latino beverage in the world.
Yeah, and I tried it, and I mean the team tried it too, and it's really good.
Thank you.
I was mentioning how I got such a nostalgic feeling when the second that I drank it, and that's a really, really like fuzzy feeling to be able to drink something and then remember or have a feeling of a childhood, and it really is so good.
Thank you. I mean, that was honestly my intention for making the hours for Zoe. I wanted her to have that same nostalgic feeling that I got when I drink aguas frescas. When I drink aguas frescas, I have so many memories, whether it be, I'm down at the Piedra Lisa in Colima with my mom, or I'm out here in Santee Alley with my dad. They just bring so many, like you said, fuzzy memories. And the fact that I can give that to somebody through a bottle by something that I made with my own hands, it's really special. And it's moments like that and hearing those things that make me realize that, I'm on the right path.
Right. Yeah.
So it's really
amazing.
cool.
Actually, circling back to that. So, you get furloughed from your job. Pandemic's just not happening. Remember when they said the pandemic, we would open in 1 month? It would be, everything would open back in 2 weeks, then 1 month, then 2 months, then 3 months. When the pandemic, I think, began March 14th or something like that. When did this happen? And when did you get that moment, that light bulb moment when you were like, I'm going to do this?
Yeah. Great question. And so the pandemic hits March 14th.
Right.
My daughter's birthday is March 17th. That's the day I get furloughed. I still get goosebumps thinking about that day.
Yeah.
And a week and a half goes by and I'm supposed to get married on March 28th.
No.
And so we had this big wedding plan. We're hearing all this stuff on the news, like, don't get together with your family. Don't, all of just bringing everybody back of like, only hang out with the people in your household. We're getting terrified. And, we have to make the decision of, do we continue with our wedding and bring all these people together that we love and haven't seen in years and want to see really, really badly, especially during what seemed like such a dark time? Or do we, call it off? And so that's what we did. We ended up calling off the wedding. My wife and I got married on the beach, just us two, with my daughter. And my best friend, Hugh, married us. It was very quick. There was helicopters flying overhead. Hey, get off the beach, get off the beach. There was cops, cruising by. Hey, you guys gotta move. And I was like, no, I'm saying my vows. And my wife was like, Pablo, hurry up. I'm like, I only got one shot. So it was a very not the most romantic wedding, but it was one I'll never forget. And it just kind of takes me back to that time when Aguas Locas was started. I was feeling everything, right? I was feeling unessential because I got furloughed. I was feeling like, what the heck am I doing with my life? I have a daughter. Everything was so uncertain. And so I never wanted to feel like that again, because I remember when I had Zoe, 3 months after she was born, my father passed away.
Oh, sorry.
And then that restaurant closed down that I was working at. And so I had already had this feeling of like helplessness. And I didn't want to ever feel like that again. So I said, hey, I'm going to take my life into my own hands. I'm going to create my own company. And I am not only going to create a company to make some money and change my family's lives, but I'm going to uplift my communities and create something more than just an agua fresca company. I want to do something where I can go in, impact communities, give people jobs, help feed the homeless. Everything that I wanted to do as a little kid, I felt like I could do it by starting a company. And I don't know what gave me that motivation or that foresight to think that I could do that, but I was like, listen, the world's in shambles. It can only get worse. So I might as well try it, right?
We're at the bottom right here.
And so I called my buddy Morris over. We had a meeting in my wife's college beer pong table with the holes in it. I put a serape on top. I called him. I was like, hey, I got a couple flavors. I know that you are an amazing designer and you're an amazing human being. Come over so we can see if you're interested in starting a company with me. And so, this was also around the time when all the protests were going on, all of the stuff in Santa Monica, the looting. And so the world was crazy. And I said, hey, let's bring a little light to our communities with some agua fresca. It doesn't seem like much, but I feel like we could do something to make a difference. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And he's like, right off the bat, he's the one that gave me the vision of like, hey, this needs to be more than just like Pablos Aguas Fresca. This needs to be a brand, a lifestyle. And so Morris and I, from that very moment, we're like, all right, let's build a community, let's build a brand, and let's go out there and give free Jamaica to all the protesters. Let's start making a difference from the very moment that we launched. And even more so, that first month, we donated money to Familias Unidas, which is an organization in New Orleans that helps immigration families coming over from Mexico. It helps them with their immigration. It helps them getting adjusted to life here in the U.S., housing, schooling. So right away, we knew, oh my God, like, we made some money, we donated some money, and we made a little difference. Like, this is amazing. Like, let's continue to do that. And that was 3 years ago, and I feel like we're barely getting started.
Yeah, that's an amazing story.
Thank you.
I mean, so this is your recipe. This is something. How long was the trial and error for making this feel like I want people to try this?
Yeah. So the trial and error was about a month while I was locked away in quarantine in my house. My wife never lost her job, and she was working for Sweetgreen at the time, and she works for Human Resources. She was super busy, but every 30 minutes to an hour, I would come in with the recipe. I'd be like, babe, try this recipe. She'd be like, and I could tell right away from the look.
You knew, yeah.
From the look, it wasn't the one.
Yeah.
So I knew I had the right flavor when me and her both went like, oh, we had that bright-eyed moment.
That moment.
And so every flavor came separately. And so first it was the Jamaica, and then the Sandia, so on and so forth. And then we were making alcoholic aguas frescas at the time as well.
Right.
Because everybody was drinking. And thankfully we had Zoe at the time, or we would have probably became alcoholics even more so. But yeah, we sold these and delivered them straight to people's doorsteps. We launched on Instagram, and within 2 hours we sold out, and then the same thing the next week. And the same thing for like 3 months. And, you know, I was like, babe, I think we're onto something. Can I quit my job? And she's like, well, you have health insurance, you have a nice paying job, 401k and all that stuff. I was like, yeah, but I feel like I need to take a leap of faith, and I will only do it if you allow me. So she finally was like, you know what, Pablo, I think you can do it.
That's amazing.
So with her blessing, I left the restaurant industry, which I had been in for the last 20 years. Wow. Went, full in with Aguas Frescas. I read every article, every book. I listened to every podcast, looked at every ingredient, every recipe, and just, created my own based off of what I saw my mom doing in the kitchen, what I had read, and just kind of took a modern approach to a tradition that, to this day is still so, very lively in everyone's homes. And so...
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So the logo, did that come about pretty quickly? Has this been the logo the whole time, or has it evolved?
The whole time, yeah. I drew a crappy little logo on a paper napkin. Yeah. And I called Morris, and I was like, Morris, bring this to life. Okay. And we went back and forth for about 2 weeks. Does he have a hat? Does he not have a hat? Does he have a flower on his eye? And so ultimately we came up with this. And everything is an homage to my family and to our culture. And so even we kept the sombrero because it's for my dad. It resembles my dad, the hardworking man under the sun. The flower around the eye was to soften the skull for my daughter Zoe, so that he was a little bit more approachable. And then obviously he's cheersing some aguas frescas in his hand. But yeah, all of that was, and then the colors are the Aztec color scheme. Okay. The lettering is very much everything we kind of thought of ourselves. Morris is brilliant, and there would be no Aguas Locas without him. And it's been him and I for the most part for the last 3 years, just kind of doing the marketing, doing the social media, these big events, the deliveries, the account acquisition, the outreach, the collaborations, the events, you name it.
So getting this just in people's hands, that was you delivering it, giving it away. I mean, in the beginning, I think it's really about just getting it in anyone's hands, getting them to try it. I mean, it can look... And it does. The packaging looks amazing.
Thank you.
But of course, when people try it, when they get that feeling, When was the first time that you saw someone just not from your family, not friends, just a person just try it and give you a genuine response? Like, what did that make you feel too?
I still get that feeling.
Yeah.
And I get that feeling from when I have people try it today. But I remember back in the day just having people come up to our pop-ups, try it and be like, again, that wide-eyed moment, like, oh my God, this isn't just you trying to slang crappy little agua fresca. This is really good, and I want to buy some off of you. I would say it was at pop-ups. You know, that first year we did over 100 pop-ups, and that was 3 to 5 pop-ups a weekend just to get our name out there, just to put it out there. But one really moment that comes to mind is we were doing a pop-up in Venice, and at the moment this guy was walking by, and I was like, hey man, you want to try some aguas frescas and some tamales? And he's like, nah. And he turns back around. He's like, you know what? You seem so nice. Let me try your product. And I was like, all right. So we got to talking, and it ended up being YG's producer. And so what that led to was amazing opportunities.
Yeah.
One, that next week we were serving up margaritas for YG on his music video set.
Wow.
And, you know, I still remember him coming up to me like, oh my God, this is bomb. And I was like, oh my God, YG just told me that my product was bomb. And he's like, do you have any more? And at the time, Morris and I were still making them in my apartment kitchen. And we didn't have any more. So I'm like, I can go make some. And he's like, yeah. So I went home to my apartment kitchen. I was like, babe, we're making YG some personal margaritas right now. She's like, get the heck out of here. And I was like, yeah, it's crazy. So we made them really quick, went back to the set, and, you know, gave everybody agua fresca. And I feel like from that moment, those types of things just keep happening, where it's like you never really know who's going to be trying your product, who's going to be at the event, who you're going to be talking to.
Right.
And it has just led to us, you know, ultimately fulfilling one of my own dreams of, you know, having our product be sold at festivals. And, you know, this weekend we happen to be at the largest Latino and Mexican-American music festival in the world, Bésame Mucho, which, you know, has incredible bands. And for me, one day, not, you know, as a kid, not being able to afford a Coca-Cola, to be able to have a product that is now being sold in front of thousands of people is, it makes you feel really, really nice. You know, it's, I think that if I can inspire anybody to just kind of believe in themselves and to make them know that they are capable to do whatever they want in this world, like, and in this lifetime, like, then I've done my job, you know? So, shoot, did I ever think these little bottles would get me into these rooms? Like, no way. But like, here we are, even with you. You know, I'm so honored to be here and to have these conversations, like with yourself, and be able to share my story. So thank you. Yeah,
no problem. I mean, thank you, and thank you for bringing us all of these bottles. Definitely keeping a few, if you don't mind. Of course. So back to, you know, I love the fact that you went to your apartment. You went and made fresh aguas frescas, and then you drove back and you served them. Like, I mean, so I always say how business owners, I mean, just, we have this different mentality. And I always say that, you know, a trait that you have to be a business owner is you cannot be shy. Yeah. It's like this, you just turn on this thing in you. And that happened in your case. I mean, you just talk to random people and you do these pop-ups, and you're nice to everybody because you never know who that next person's going to be. And then that's what led you to, you know, making drinks for YG. So that's amazing. Yeah. What do you think is a non-negotiable, like, character trait for someone to have who's going into business for themselves?
A character trait, I would say, is to be open. To be open-minded. Okay. Because nothing is ever going to go the way you planned. Right. Ever. Yeah. You know, even this podcast, I had planned it for the last 2 weeks, and I was like, all right, I'm going to be there early. But then I get the call for Bésame Mucho at last minute. One, I also didn't have product, so I had to stop by the facility. Right. In this meantime, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be late. So just the ability to not be stuck in your plan and in your ways,
Right.
and
to
the
learn how to
ability
adapt.
adapt,
Like, just
and
adapt in the
maneuver
moment,
and pivot,
right.
and I think we were so fortunate with Aguas Locas to be born in the pandemic because of
Yeah.
that. We had to pivot. When the restaurants shut down, we had to shut down. We had to find other ways to make money. I had already quit my job, so I couldn't go back. And so even with you, I'm sure, when I gave you a call, it's like, hey, I have to cancel because of this.
Yep.
You had to make different plans yourself. So, I think that's something that nowadays we all have to be open to change and be adaptable.
Right. Open-minded and adaptable.
Yes.
I think so. I agree, actually. I always say that, too. I think when people come in, and even when you're hiring people and look, you observe so much by someone, even the way they sit, even the way they answer something. And I think you can tell right away that someone is either really outgoing or can at least have that ability to, even if they're an introvert, they have the ability to turn on a different switch and just be an extrovert. You are an extrovert through and through, I feel, right? Because the minute that you walked in, you just had this energy, and you're on. Would you say you're just an extrovert, or?
I don't know a lot about astrology, but I know that I'm a Leo, and I know that.
And we're gonna get Leo.
But I know
Leo
that
people
Leos
right
very
now.
much like to be the center of the room, and I've actually, as I've grown up and gotten older, realized that I've had to tone down a little bit. And
Really?
when I was in high school, I always wanted to be like the class clown. And that led me to, having to start my own company and not have a career and all that. But anyway, I feel like I've always been extroverted, especially, growing up on Catalina Island. I was in hospitality. I had to be warm and fuzzy. I had to connect with people, whether it was, me offering a chair at the beach, or to carry your golf bag on the golf course, or to help you with their bags off of the boat. I've always kind of governed myself also with like my mother's heart of like, how can I help? And also, how can I be your friend?
How can I be your friend? That's a good one, actually. I think that's a really good tip for people. It's kind of going in with that mentality, like, how can I be your friend?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you are the product, I think. Because, when you come up to somebody with your energy, with, I think people are so much more inclined to say, I would definitely try it. I mean, if someone just came in with like a different face and weren't enthusiastic about it, that doesn't really engage you to want to try anything. But I think energy is just so different. And I think people have to have like a sense of this twinkle in their eye, who aren't shy. And I mean, we were talking about it. I think I get that from my dad, where he was down here in Fashion District buying soccer balls because he would sell them outside of the stadiums. He would sell them to anybody that he could. And so watching him and understanding that the more likable you are, the more people are going to go into to trust your business. Yeah. And so I think that's really, really great. And
I try to be as approachable as possible.
Yeah. So what was your family's response to, I know you told me about your wife, who is absolutely like lovely. I think the best thing in life is a supportive partner.
I mean, other than my kids, the best thing I've ever done is, make Lorraine my wife and share life with her. And I feel so fortunate for her to have stood by my side after so much that I put her through. Especially even with, Aguas Locas and all the heart-wrenching moments that can cause, the wins, the losses, the being broke and not being able to pay rent for a couple months. Just everything that comes with being a business owner. My life is very much up and down, and she is very much my thermostat.
That's beautiful. Yeah. She sounds like a cool lady.
She's really cool. Yeah. But don't mess with her.
But don't mess with her, and that makes it even better. Yeah. It's like, she's cool, but don't mess with her. Yeah. And so, outside family, what was their response to you quitting job and going into this? Because it's a gamble. It is. It still is. It always will be, because you never know what life's going to throw at you.
Exactly.
What was their reaction? What was their response to this?
I was very supported from the very beginning, and I think that that's what gave us such great success at the beginning. Was, I told all my friends and family, and they were like, oh my God, this is amazing. How can we get it ourselves? And, even my community from Catalina Island, right when we launched, like, how can we get it over to Catalina? We all want to try it. And so by week 2, there was already stores and restaurants carrying it over there.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah, and so, and and my buddy Morris, if you think I'm nice, this guy is like surpasses me by 10. But he also has a great network here in Los Angeles. He's from Culver City, and so everybody caught on to them as well, with his friends and his family, and then their friends and their family, and then we all know the power of social media. When you see 10 people posting about it, you're like, oh my God, what is everybody raving about? And so that's kind of what led to everybody wanting to try these aguas.
Yeah.
So I just feel very blessed and very lucky to be here, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not? It's such a great product, to be honest.
Thank you.
Well, so you mentioned Catalina Island again. Do you still have family over there?
How do I say this? Everyone over there is extended family.
Okay.
If you went over there,
it's a small island. It's
tiny, 1 square mile town.
Yeah, I've been there once. I've been there twice, and you could do anything in a golf cart, and you can get around the whole.
Yeah.
The only thing that scares me is going up, and then coming back down.
Yeah,
with the golf cart.
and those golf carts are a little sketchy.
Yeah.
Which I didn't learn to drive till I was like 25. Anyway, the island is really cool, and in the sense that it kind of taught me everything I know, and everything I am I owe to that place.
Yeah. You mentioned that you looked up to your coach, right, and mentor?
Yeah, so he was my golf mentor at the moment. I was only 8 years old, I believe, 10 years old. His name was Frank Machado, and he also kind of took me under his wing. I lived like 3 houses down, so I'd come over to his house at 5 a.m. We'd get ready, and then we'd drive to the golf course. I would putt around, and then when it was time, I'd, caddy his bag, which also meant like drive the little golf cart around, make $5, go buy a hamburger, go to the arcade. And that's kind of where I got that like hustler mentality, I feel like, from an early age.
At 8 years old, you were a caddy.
Yeah.
Are you a good golfer now?
I'm a pretty good golfer.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. I've been wanting to get into it a little bit. It's hard.
It's
not easy.
And most of my life lessons I learned on the golf course. Like how to be a gentleman, how to be, how to be respectful, raking your trap after you hit a sand shot. All of those things I carry onto my life. Yeah. When I do a pop-up, I make sure that I leave the spot cleaner than how I found it.
That's awesome.
And you mentioned being nice to everybody. It's just part of like, again, you never know who you're going to speak to, who you're going to meet, and, your brother could be the lead rep for Southern Wine and Spirits who distributes Aguas Frescas, right? So it's like, especially in LA, I've learned like, whoa, everybody's so interweaved and interconnected.
Everyone knows everyone here somehow.
Everybody knows everybody.
It's quite small.
Yeah, it's once you get to know people, it's like, whoa, it's really small.
Yeah.
But I love it, and I'm so glad that I was able to launch here in LA.
Yeah.
And I feel like Aguas Locas is a representation of our communities, of our people. They're beautiful, they're bright, colorful, they're bilingual, they're multicultural. And my goal is to make Aguas Frescas the drink of Los Angeles by going to the city and try to make that happen, which, you heard
Is that
it
the
here
next
first.
step?
That's going to be the next step.
Yeah? That's amazing. So I would love to know, though, how long was it from creating the product, finding the bottle, logo, everything? When did you start actually seeing that this company was gonna make you money? Even if it was just the first few bucks. I mean, when did you see that? How long into the process?
It's crazy because the first year we did crazy sales. We were selling alcohol. Everybody was at home, so everybody wanted this product at home, right?
Yeah.
So I talked a lot about pivoting. And so after that year, after everything opened up, people didn't really want their things delivered to the house. They wanted to go out and be with their friends. So we're like, oh my God, our model doesn't really work anymore. We need to go out and seek accounts.
Okay.
And so what our financials have really ebbed and flowed. There's been times where we made a bunch of money. There's been times where I've spent a bunch of money trying to keep the company afloat. And I think that any business owner can attest that's just part of part of the grind.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I've had such a great support system that's allowed me to do that and to continue. And there's been times where I'm like, dude, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
Okay.
And I want everyone to know that's out there listening that when you start a business, not every day is going to be rainbows and butterflies. There's some days that, I've gone to bed crying, why not me? Why this person? All these different feelings of, I started my business before them.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, again, in LA, everybody's so connected. So it's like, it's hard not to compare yourself. But at the same time, it's like, what's really helped me is to just focus on me. And I think that if everybody does that and you kind of hold your own standards, then what everybody else is doing is kind of just noise, right? It doesn't really matter. And so when I started stepping back and being like, you know what, Pablo, like you are living the life. You get to spend every day with your children. You don't have to go to work. Yeah. You get to work your own schedule. Like, what are you waiting for to be happy? What is it that you need? Money? Like, and so when I realized that, I was like, damn, I get to share my product. I get to go on podcasts. I get to go to Dodger Stadium and walk the grounds. I get to go do all these amazing things because of these bottles that I created. And so I don't take that for granted. And to be quite honest, we still aren't fully making a ton of money. I haven't hired anybody yet. It's still me and Morris. But we see 2024 as the year where we are going to grow, and I see it being our year.
That's awesome. The
we're going to grow,
exponentially.
The intention is there, and I'm manifesting it.
That's what's up. Yeah. And so you're big on manifesting.
100%. I think that as a business owner, if you're not manifesting your own success, then you're kind of just blindly going about it. But if you say, hey, this is one of my goals, this is something that I want to achieve, and you have it in your mind and you have it in your heart, man, you're going to not only get there, but you're going to blow your own expectations.
Yeah. My parents were big on that. Yeah. Huge. It's so funny. I was just talking about this with my mom the other day, and she said, Natasha, when you were about like 8 years old, they had their eye on this house that they really wanted. But at that time, nobody in their family had ever bought in a house that had more than like 2 bedrooms, right? And so my mom said that her manifesting game was so strong that she would go to the front of the house, take a picture, and no iPhones back then. It was those Kodak ones. Yeah. And I think she still has it. And she would take a picture in front of that house that she wanted. I love that. And they ended up, I remember. That's one of my childhood houses that I remember the most. Wow. And it's so amazing. So I think that is something so beautiful because it does work. It is real. It doesn't mean that snap of your fingers it's going to appear. You have to work for it.
100%,
you can vision yourself. You can see yourself there. Go take a picture in that car that you want, if that's what you need to do. But you got to work for it. Like there comes it's put yourself there, envision it, but then
it's time to do the work.
Hustle.
You got to put in the work. You got to put in the reps.
Yeah. And there are days where you just want to give up. Can you recall, is there like any specific day or moment where you were like ready to throw in the towel?
Yeah, I would say, about a month and a half ago, I was just kind of like, what are we doing?
Really?
Where are we going? I'm not really making money. I don't see an end game. I don't want to be just another pop-up. My goal has always been to grow and to attain more. And so when I don't see that happening, I'm like, I get inside my own head. And that's, I think, my own problem too, is these issues that I create inside my own head. My ego battling me, and all of everything in that I'm trying to grow out of as a person. And so I kind of just battle with myself through that. But, and there comes moments where I receive an email that say, hey, Pablo, we love what you're doing. Would you like to be on my podcast? And it's those moments that I'm like, all right, Pablo, get out of your head. You're doing just fine. You're doing everything you need to be doing. And I think it's just those little wins that keep me going, right?
Yeah.
And I think that the little wins as a business owner, you have to really celebrate.
Yeah.
But at the same time, be able to move on, right? And be like, all right, now what? On to the next.
Yeah, what's
next?
That's
great, but now what's next? Because if you stay, in that box and you're content with what you're doing, then I don't really... And that's great for some people. You know,
Right.
I don't want to knock that kind of
No.
business
If they
model.
want to reach a certain level and
Then
they're
that's
happy.
fine. But for me, like, it has always been like I've known what I've wanted. I've always seen where
Yeah.
I envisioned the brand, and I'm not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I'm gonna do everything I can in my power to do everything I can to get there.
Yeah. And so when did the events start coming up? Like, you've always been the pop-up and all that, but you really started participating. And you mentioned something, you know, when we talked before, is Baruda. And you've invited me to some events there. How did that come about?
Yeah, so Baruda is LA's first Mexican-themed non-alcoholic cocktail bar.
Nice.
I started that with my partner of Aguas Locas, Morris, because we wanted to create a sober, social, safe space.
That's amazing.
And we
love
actually
that.
were at an Aguas Locas meeting. We were across the table from each other, and we had just done an event with Aguas Locas. Yeah. And I said, dude, we should start a non-alcoholic cocktail bar.
That is so cool.
And he said, he stopped typing. He's like, we should. And from that moment on, boom, we started researching. We went on ChatGPT. We're like, all right, create a business plan, do this, do that. And we just got on it. And I think from the beginning of that to like launching, it was only like 3 weeks.
Wow.
But we had already kind of done it with Aguas Locas. We already kind of had the recipe of like how to launch, how to get it, you know, some PR, some media. I already had some friends. So we kind of just did that, and it has taken on a life of its own.
Yeah.
And so now, you know, it's funny. People know me as like, some people might not even know my name, but they'll be like, Aguas Locas, which is great. That's fine. But then they hear that I'm also Baruda, and they're like, holy crap, you started Baruda? And I was like, yeah. And that's kind of been my mission, is not to really be like the face of Baruda, but for it to be like a space for everybody.
Right.
You know, I don't want any of us to be kind of the face of that. I want it to be like more of a community of like, it's everyone's. And, you know, I would encourage everybody to check out what we're doing. It's really, really special. We're creating non-alcoholic cocktail parties all throughout the city.
Cool. Yeah.
And, you know, we do it with a lot of intention. We start our evenings with, you know, yoga or a sound bath, something to set the tone of the evening. And then we go into like bites, charcuterie. And then, you know, we'll go into like a vinyl DJ, live music. At our next event on the 14th, we're actually taking over the Buenas Plantas Mezcaleria room. It's a little speakeasy.
So cool.
And we're going to have a cumbia band playing. So it's going to be really, really cool. I basically just want to bring that party energy, that good times, but without any of the regret that you feel the next day when you've made some dumb decisions because you were drinking.
Yeah, I've had too many of those. I don't like them anymore.
Couldn't say the same.
And the older you get, no.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Oh, yeah. It's like a 2-day hangover.
Yeah, and we don't have 2 days to recover anymore. We got to be on, and you have kids.
And in that journey, I actually stopped drinking, and I'm like 9 months sober now as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is so cool. Yeah, I love that. I love that you've created this space for people to go and have a good time and not need you don't need any of that to be in a social setting, to have fun, and that is super cool.
Yeah.
So how often do you have these events?
About 2 times a month.
2 times.
We have, I think, 3 events this month in December. And then in January, we're going to actually have an event every week for Dry January.
Nice.
Yep.
That makes sense. Yeah. So, I mean, I love how Aguas Locas started this, and you had your moment there of like, I know what I'm going to do, you know? And then you have this other moment of Baruda. And then how often do you now see, because in the last 3 years, your brain just now exercises, right? It's just full of ideas. Like things just happen. And I notice it happens so much more the more active you are. How often do these now ideas come about? Like how many do you think you have in like a book or in your mind of all of the things the business ideas and other types of events? Does it happen pretty much every day?
It happens as we're speaking. Sometimes I'll be having a conversation and it was about something else, and I'll be like, hold on, you know what? I think that we should do this.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that I moved away from the mic.
No.
But yeah, I mean, my mind, and my wife can attest to this, I'm very much like 25 things at once. I call it undiagnosed ADD. She says, you're just a man. But Yeah, I mean, I'm always trying to think of the next cool thing
Right.
that for us to do. And, same goes with Morris and our other partner, Brian. We're just like, how do we create the sickest parties? How do we do the next best thing within our capabilities, right? But it's been really nice to see the feedback that we've gotten from people that we don't know, strangers.
Right.
One instance that comes to mind is a Muslim couple that came up to me and just thanked us for being around. And they were an elderly couple. I don't want to throw out ages, but they were just so genuinely happy and told me, Pablo, thank you for existing. We've gone our whole lives without being able to go to a bar. Because of our religion. And so I take that moment with me and I realize that I'm doing something that's bigger and greater than myself. And that just makes me feel super special. And that's something that I want to pass on to my kids, to be like, hey, do something that you love, but do something that's going to bring you joy and something that, is going to impact the people around you, because that alone is going to make you feel so good and so fulfilled.
Yeah. So if your kids, when they're grown up, when they come up to you and they say, I want to go into business for myself too, would that be one of the first advices that you give them? How would you feel too if they said, I want to start a business?
I'd be stoked.
Yeah.
I think that anybody who wants to start a business, I'm all for. I think that everybody has their own talent and everybody has something to offer. And I think that if they want to monetize it and try to make a living off of it, then I think they have every right to do so.
Yeah.
And especially with my children, I would say, how can I help?
Yeah.
That would be my first response. And then step out of the way and let them do whatever they want to do.
Would you be, what if they were, 18, fresh out of high school, and they said they wanted to do it? What would be your advice?
Go for it.
Yeah.
I think the worst thing I did was wait,
Really?
If they know at 18 that they want to start a business, then they're ahead of the curve. Because at 18, I was partying till 5 a.m. and sleeping on my mother's couch and didn't know what I was doing with my life. So I think I'd be really happy for them. I think I will be happy with them, whatever they choose.
Yeah. Do you think it would be possible for you to go back and do a 9-to-5 or just go back? Do you think you could? I mean, I know you could probably. I mean, I could too, but I think about that. I'm like, I don't think I'd want to anymore.
One, I don't think I would ever want to again. I love just the ability to move how I want to move. And be where I want to be. But I bartend 2 nights a week at a restaurant called Best Bet. And it's actually nice to have that paycheck coming in continuously.
Yeah.
Because even with Aguas, I send invoices once a month, so I'm broke for 3 weeks, and then I have a bunch of money for a week, and that's my life. But actually, also I've never really had a 9-to-5.
Well, no, the restaurant industry is
it was more
it's
so
more like till 2 a.m.
10 to 10
yeah, I used to bartend. Those hours are killer.
Oh yeah, they're brutal. And I was always in management where it was like I was even there longer than the rest of the staff. But I would go back to that if it was my own restaurant. Yep.
Is that an
Which
idea?
is something that I'm working on.
Which
as well.
is the ideas have appeared here. So that's a goal.
Yeah, I mean, I want Baruda to have a brick and mortar where you can come in, have a non-alcoholic drink, just like you would at a regular bar, have some bites, have a good time, come in for happy hour. And so that's something that I'm working on right now.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Dang, there's a lot happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
I try to stay busy.
Yeah. Do you think being busy for you is the best thing happen?
When I'm on the grind.
Okay.
Because then when it's time to chill, I'm all chill.
Don't
pull out my phone. I'm very good at, creating that balance.
The work-life balance?
Because I wasn't always that way.
Really?
So I kind of had to teach myself, but I feel like I've gotten to a place where it's like, dude, if I don't do anything today, that's okay.
Yeah.
And I kind of did that yesterday.
That's cool. Good. So being with family though, you make it a rule to not be on the phone as much, really be present.
100%.
Yeah.
That is like the most important thing for me, is for my children to know that I'm there, actively present. And that is also my fuel, my charge, my gasoline is those times. So I want to make sure that I make the most of them for myself as well.
That's a really good rule. I think when you're a business owner, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to give that same quality attention sometimes to your family. And being on the phone, I mean, it's so easy to just get consumed by it, to just keep responding to emails, or, you know, even when you want to check out, and the TikTok situation is just ridiculous. I mean, it's just built to just keep you entertained, right? So I love that you make it a rule to just be present with your family. That's really good. Yeah, I love that. How many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids. I have a 6-year-old girl, Zoe, and a 2-year-old boy, Luciano.
Oh, 2-year-old boy, Luciano. So he's
a pandemic baby. I have a pandemic baby, pandemic business, pandemic marriage.
That marriage story is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys ever think of redoing, like, or just try doing it again?
I mean, yeah, it comes up, but then it's like, we're too busy. Like, when are we going to have time to do this? I do want to do it. I want to do it. I want to have like a destination wedding in Mexico or something like that. That way we can cut that list in half. No, but
it's true though. It does cut it in half.
It cuts it, and also, you know, a lot of those friends that were on that list pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, aren't as friendly.
No?
Or I guess we're not on the same wavelength, I should say.
Got it. Okay.
I'm at a point in my age, in my life, where I don't want to associate or be around people that don't really celebrate the same beliefs as me, you know?
Right.
And
you're totally allowed to do
yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I read something yesterday where it was like, oh, they're family, you don't have to like them, but you have to love them. And somebody was like, no, that's not true. If it's your family and they don't treat you nicely, you don't have to love them either. No. And I'm totally okay with that. I totally agree with, like, dude, spend your energy with the people that bring you the good in you, you know? That's why I don't really want to hang out with my 2-year-old. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, you know, I don't know why I brought up the pandemic and that, but it just kind of, again, those that celebrated and really supported my business were those that I felt like will be on the right side of history. The others will not be.
Got it. Okay. So when it comes to, you said you're with Southern Lion Spirits?
No.
I was wondering that because I was familiar with them from back in the day.
Oh, yeah,
you bartend, you know, you get the reps coming in and all that, and you make friendly. It's a small world, like I said, although I was in Orange County. But is that right now everything is your 2-man show? Or how do you
and then my wife does like all the bookkeeping, accounting, and stuff like that.
Oh, that's so smart. Yeah. That is a big thing for sure, that you have someone who does the books. I mean, I don't know how it is, but sometimes when you don't have to worry about the books, and when you don't have to get so focused on that, it gives you the ability to keep doing what you're doing, to focus and be, you know, sell basically. So do you distribute as you and your
we do
partner?
Everything.
You do everything?
Yeah, and so, you know, they'll hit me up, hey, Pablo, can I get 5 cases of this?
Oh, wow.
I'll deliver it, and then I'll let my wife know 5 cases to Sarah's Market, and then she'll send them the invoice.
Okay, that's cool. What percentage do you think you have right now in LA? I mean, do you have a specific city? Like, you're from you live in Santa Monica, right? How have you dominated that area? You think?
No, honestly, we are in like different pockets of the city. You know, we have a couple locations in Highland Park. We have a couple on the west side. We have some in Long Beach, Silver Lake. We're kind of scattered all over. We haven't really hit a location too hard, but that's something that I'm planning on do when we release the cans. Yeah,
those cans. I mean, we'll show a picture. We have to, because the can design looks so cool. I mean, I love this. Right? Yeah. But the can, how long has that been in motion to get it into cans?
So the can is something that I've always wanted to do. I just never really had the money.
Okay.
And so the bottles, we started in a bottle with the plastic label because that's what my one unemployment check would buy me at the time.
Yeah.
And so that's how we started the business. But I was fortunate enough to have this at an account and a investor in the beverage industry found the product, reached out to me, and I want to say like a month ago we started talking.
Right.
And I might give him, or we're talking about give him a portion of the company for him to help manufacture, get the cans out there.
Smart.
And grow the business.
Yeah.
And that way we can get into, other states, possibly even Mexico.
Of course. I mean,
yeah.
Well,
keeping the bottles here in LA.
Yeah.
And keeping the bottle here as like, something that you can only get here locally.
That is so cool. So when you talk to potential partners or investors, let's say, I'm sure that, like you just mentioned right now, when it comes to people or family, there's certain rules, right? You want someone who's supportive. You want someone who you vibe with. In partners, though, in business, what do you need to feel or see in them to say, I want to do business with you?
Honestly, I'm really good at reading people.
Yeah.
And so if I get a good feeling about you, it's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Right away, so I come from hospitality, and I would always be in charge of hiring.
Oh, okay. I
could tell in 5 seconds if I'm going to hire you or not.
Yeah.
Whether or not the conversation goes 30 minutes or an hour, I know in 5 seconds whether or not. And I want to say 95% of the time I was right.
Yeah.
And that was something I took a lot of pride in. And so even when I go with investors or other people that want to be a part of the company, I very much just follow my heart. And that has worked out and hasn't worked out. But I feel like that's the only way to go about it for me. But I feel like this next move that we're making is going to be the best thing that ever happened to us. And we're finally going to start seeing some growth that I think we are capable of.
And that's what 2024 is
That is 2024,
about,
exactly.
Right? That's really good. So circling back just real quick, in business, you've made and this happens to all of us. I mean, I think it's the best learning curve, right? To partner with someone or trust in someone who didn't give you the result that you were expecting. What'd you learn the most out of that experience?
To not be like them. So just to give you some more.
Yeah, I was going to say, please say more.
I had investors who promised me, millions of dollars in capital. They would get me to market. You're going to be in Vegas. You're going to be here, here, and here. A year goes by. Pablo, just keep doing what you're doing. A year and a half. Pablo, just keep doing what you're doing. And I'm like, I'm broke. I can't keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of beverage companies, if you don't know, they have like a $1 million investment, $3 million investment, or $5 million investment. We had one unemployment check. And so we're changing the game on how you can build a beverage company. And, I saw dollar signs. I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. And I was like, for sure, a month in and somebody's already promised me all this.
Oh, got it.
Of course, I want you to take 51% of my company and help me grow. And it was just one of the dirtiest things that I learned. It was just like these rich, well-to-do Anglo-Saxon men that saw money signs with a cultural product.
Oh, God.
I feel like, and it was like it was just a mess trying to get out of that relationship. We got lawyers involved, but I was able to get all of my company back.
Really?
I got it all back. And I just, from that moment, was like, you're not going to treat anybody like these people treated you. Because my goal at the end of the day is to sell this company and to help other Latinos and Latinas and other dark-skinned brown boys and girls start their own companies and weave their way through the madness of, obtaining the certificates and the business licenses and the trademarks and all of that. So, everything I do now so that I can pass on down the line.
Yeah. So when things like that happen, business-wise, and something, because you said, the thing about business owners is you feel the highs, you feel the wins, but the losses, I mean, they weigh on you.
Mm-hmm.
How does that, have you created a way to not bring that home? Because a thing like that, lawsuits, getting lawyers involved, trying to get back your company, I know that for me, it's still so hard to not bring that home and to let it stay at the door. How do you approach that?
Well, luckily for me, it started in my door, my business, right?
Sure.
So it's not like I ever had to go to work and then leave it at the door, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always bring my work home.
Yeah.
I breathe, sleep, and eat Aguas Locas. My children have the stickers all over their toys. Like, there is no separation of Aguas Locas in life. Like, that is my life. And so I think for me, it's, knowing when I can vent to my wife.
Okay.
Knowing when I need to just go kind of let it out before I get home.
Mm-hmm.
But also, coming home with those stories and telling my children and talking to my wife and just talking through it. I think that in general, we hold a lot of stuff in and that really builds up. And so that's also just something I'm working on personally, is just kind of not letting that happen so that it doesn't feel like I'm like bringing problems home.
Right.
I'm kind of just coming home and here's my good things and here's my bad. And here's my bad things, and take it or leave it.
And how are we also, as a family too? I mean, it happens.
Exactly.
The lessons that I learned a lot were through my parents, and bad partnerships. They had a few, and it was so hard to not bring that home, but to bring it home in a way where they don't feel this stress, I think is so key.
Right.
Because that did happen a lot, where I'm like, I feel stressed the second that, my dad walked in, and I'm like, I don't want to, and I know he never did it intentionally, right? But it's hard. And now I see it happening sometimes too. I'm like, it's not as easy as it looks. You end up realizing a lot.
And don't get me wrong, like, there's times when I'm super frustrated, and unfortunately I do take it out on my family, and I'm not perfect by any means, but I really try to be as aware of my actions as possible, right? So that, if I do lash out or if I do say something, I'm able to like hone it back and be like, look, Zoe, I'm so sorry. Like, this is what happened at work, and I'm not perfect, and blah, blah, blah. And so, like, being able to keep that open communication with my family is like really, really special and very much like needed for me. Yeah,
that's really good. Do you think being in business for yourself now the last 3 years, do you surround yourself now? Do you have a different community of business owners that you go to ask? Or, I mean, I know you had a mentor at 8 years old. Do you have anything like that as of now, or just at least a community of other like-minded folks?
Yeah, I think that's been one of the coolest things too, is like getting this mutual respect from people that I looked up to, or people who I never thought I would, get to have a conversation with. Like, and they're like, oh my God, you're Aguas Locas. Like, whoa, dude, you're so-and-so. Like, I'm looking up to you. And so it's been really cool. And I think of people like Debbie and Daniel from Kids of Immigrants, who I looked up to from the very beginning. When I told Morris, I was like, dude, I want to be like them. I want to create a community. Do everything out of love. And, for me to be able to text them and be like, hey, so on and so forth, I think is like really cool. And, even the guy that got me that gig with YG, who is now a really good friend of mine, his name is Javi, just got nominated for a Grammy.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations, Javi. Yeah,
congratulations, Javi. I've just kind of weaved my way into these circles that are just so inspiring to be a part of,
And that's really cool. I think it's so great especially when you have someone that you do look up to, and then you can go to them and ask them, I'm in this situation, what would you do? And I think that's how this all began too. And now through your story, other business owners or other people who are thinking about going into business for themselves, it's possible. I mean, the fact that you're saying that you had one paycheck and this is how this all began, and from being furloughed to being in a pandemic where everything's going to shit. And then this is born, and then Baruda, and then you want to open a restaurant. I mean, there's just endless. And I think that's the most beautiful part about it. And I hope everyone watching can take away from this that you can totally do it. And I think that's one thing that you mentioned in there is like, you are capable.
Yep.
Yeah. And I thought that was beautiful.
Thank you.
You should make a shirt that says that. You are capable.
I know, I should. It's a Baruda shirt.
Idea.
Yeah, right?
But I think that is, if you have anything to elaborate on that, like when did you realize that you are capable? Or is that just like every day you just keep telling yourself that?
I think I realized that I was capable when, I started just being in these circles, in these rooms, at these tables that I was like, I had to kind of step back and be like, whoa, am I really here, And I'm here for something that I created with my own hands. I'm not here representing so-and-so's dream. I'm here representing my own dream. And I think, when we throw events and I reach out to so and forth, and they're like, oh yeah, I'd love to collaborate. And just to have people respond and to show that mutual respect, I think that alone is proving to myself that like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and that I'm capable of whatever I think I want to achieve. And I think if I can pass that on to anybody and give anybody else that feeling of like, oh my God, I feel inspired, I can go out and do this, like then I've done my job.
I think you're definitely doing it. And I think people are going to take so much away from this episode.
Thank you.
So I'm super excited on what's going to happen in 2024.
Thank you.
What is the thing you're most excited about of 2024?
2024, being done with 2023.
Set your intentions right now.
Yeah, I mean, something that's been really key for me is just setting intentions, manifesting everything that you want. And it's not just manifesting. It's like you said, putting in the work, putting in the day-to-day, a soccer player, they're doing drills for hours every single day. They're doing the repetitions. And I think it's the same thing with business or with anything else. It's, staying consistent, doing your repetitions as well. Yeah. And while thinking of like, hey, how can I grow? How can I get better? How can I do this different? And so for us, it's like, how do I grow this company with the same ethos? And it's going to be really challenging, but we're actually moving to a can. Yeah. And I think that that's going to be huge for us because one, it's going to be just that much more beautiful sitting on the shelf.
We're going to pop it up right now.
Yeah, it's going to be
screen,
great.
Please.
But two, it's going to be, it's going to be healthier for you. Yeah. We're going to decrease the agave. We're going to be better for the environment because it's going to be in a can. And we're going to be able to ship out of state.
That's
so I'm super excited for what the future is going to hold for Aguas Locas and for Baruda.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I can't wait to go to the event. Everyone check out Baruda. You have events pretty much twice a month for now, right? And then dry January, you'll have about 4 events. And it's going to be so amazing. I mean, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful. And this all happened over an Instagram message.
Yeah,
I literally just sent you I've been following your page, and it's always so beautiful. And I mean, everything that you're doing, the packaging is just so cool.
Thank you.
But I appreciate that. It was just an Instagram message. I'm like, would you mind? Like, do you want to come in?
Yeah, and that's what I found has like been the best way to like reach out to people. Like just send them a message. Like, what does it hurt? At the end of the day, they're either going to respond or they're not.
Yeah,
and
or they don't see it.
Yeah,
you're in the request section.
Man, I hate when that happens.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I think I'm still in a few request sections that people haven't even seen it at all.
Yeah.
But yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank
I appreciate it.
It's been so fun getting to tell you my story and getting to know you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was Light Bulbs with Natasha with Pablo from Aguas Locas and Baruda. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Light Bulbs with Natasha. And don't forget to tune in to this episode on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts.